Kalal, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS, that do rule on, that do teach well, and that have taught me this truth to you. I say shalom and shalom unto the hopeful elect. This is Brother Gabari Allah coming back at you with another lesson / video. Lord willing, it will be edifying today. I originally found this video in the group chat. Good video. I'll post a link in the description during post-production. You should go check it out. And it says Costco just warned the U.S. economy is collapsing. And that's because Costco isn't raking in as much money as they did in the past before inflation and before these tariff spikes. That's not good. So if Costco is not making as much money as they did, that's a sign that the U.S. economy is collapsing. And the scripture speaks on an economic collapse. And it's going to happen. Because that has to come so they can usher in the MOTB and the NWO, that system. So it's going to happen. Our Lord said this is just the beginning of sorrows. It's only going to get worse. Now, when you go into the mainstream media, when you watch these mainstream media news stations like CNN, City Pulse, CTV News, they'll tell you that, oh, everything's going good in the economy and jobs are increasing, retail giants are doing good because they're experiencing revenue growth, blah, blah, blah. They're actually just telling you a half-truth. They're only focusing on surface level revenue growth. They're not telling you how there's an alarming decline when it comes to in-same store sales, which just means these individual stores that are a part of these retail giants, those individual stores that you see in your city. A lot of people are not buying certain things that they normally would. A lot of these consumers now, they're just focusing on the essentials. They're no longer buying things for leisure and entertainment. They're just buying the essentials and the necessities. So that just focuses on their food, raiment, and water. That's it. People aren't leaving the stores with these big sofas, these big flat screen TVs. People are not spending money on those things because they can't afford it because of inflation. So that's what they're not telling you. They're not telling you that in-same store sales are on the decline and consumers' behavior patterns when it comes to shopping is changing. And that's a major red flag, and that's letting you know that economic trouble is headed your way. So when you go into the video, it gives you like stats, right? It says that pretty much Costco, their same-store sales growth only increased by 1.7% when they actually expected it to increase by 3.5%. That's not good. Also, they're telling you that membership renewals are dropping for the first time in years. That has never happened before. So when people buy a membership, they always renew it. That's no longer the case because people can't afford it. So that's not good. That is not good. They also go into the statistic about how there was a 6.8% decline in big ticket purchases. And a lot of the Costco executives, they're actually very concerned about that. Very concerned. So this is not a good sign. This is not a good sign when you see retail giants like Costco not raking in as much money as they should. Right along with these other retail giants like Best Buy, Walmart. All those giants, man, they're making cuts. Well, not making cuts, I'm sorry. They're not growing. You know, the in-same store sales, they're not increasing, and it's not getting better. They're all going through the same thing, or the same things that Costco is going through. So anyways, man, let me get some precepts now, some scriptures, because that's why I'm here. I'm going into biblical prophecy. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Yeah, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, because there's no hope out here, man. And that's what people are thinking. That's what the average consumer is thinking, man. There's no hope out here. And the video, it goes into that. It talks about that. It talks about how consumers, they don't think that inflation's ever going to go down. They think that the prices are just going to keep going up and up and up and up. And people are getting tired of it. But a lot of consumers, they don't see a future here in America because of inflation. This isn't the same America that it was back in the 80s and the 90s. And you can even look at the comments, man. I'm looking at it right now. Economy is purposely being collapsed. Agenda 2030, World Economic Forum, DPOP, which is the population, Great Reset, etc. I've been a Costco member since 92. Yes, parking lots are still full, but the carts isn't as full as in the past. And that's true, especially going back to 92. I was born in 92, but I remember when I was 7 years old, I believe like 6, 7 years old, 1997, 1998. I remember my parents, we would go grocery shopping, and you could leave the store with 3 grocery carts full of food. And it wasn't a lot of money. You're probably paying, what, $100 to $200. That's if you know how to shop. If you're getting sales, it's probably even less. But nowadays, that's not happening. You buy 3 to 5 items, that'll run you up easy $100. Easy. So yeah, but the carts isn't as full as in the past, and that's true. That is true. So yes, man. Your value, your money is actually losing its value. The prices of things are not going up. It's just that the money is losing its value. And that's biblical prophecy, and that's what you get, man, for buying into usury and not backing the money by anything. That's what you get. And remember, you people voted for this. You people voted for this. You average people out here, you voted for this garbage. You voted for all these politicians. Like I hear people, I'm going out on my day-to-day, and people are asking me, did you vote? Vote for fucking what? Why would I vote? I'm voting for a new person that's working for the same system that caused the problems in the first place. Why would I go fucking vote? See, you people voted for this shit, man. And you people are not getting it. But the scripture says, my people will be willing in the day of thy power. Yeah, when all hell breaks loose, when you see that the Lord is not with you, and when he's with the elect, and when you're losing, when the elect is winning, then you want to get with the program. Then you want to start changing. Then things start to register. You people, bug outs, man. But good for your ass. So, verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Yeah, a lack of work, a lack of employment. People are being replaced by AI and robotics. Got something called deindustrialization. You're going to be replaced, man. And a lot of your jobs went overseas because people over there work for cheap. They send the jobs over to the Philippines and China. And these companies can pay those people pennies. When you people over here, you're demanding a higher salary, a higher wage. So that's why you have no job. That's why you have no job. So there's a lack of jobs out here. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Going into the music itself, the music in this day and age sucks compared to back then. Going back to the 90s, 80s, 70s, and way back, music was good. People actually had talent. They actually had a real voice. They actually played instruments. Back then, they weren't hooked up to machines like how musicians and artists are hooked to machines today. They use that auto-tune. They use a lot of these beats. They're able to change your voice. Like Future, that artist. That guy's just hooked up to a machine. He's made in a lab, man. I don't even think that guy can really sing. I don't even think he's that good. And that guy sold out too. I saw one of his album covers. His face was covered in blood. So you know what he's about. He's about that human sacrifice. He's drinking blood. He's doing the rituals. That's why he's on such a level. So everything's artificial nowadays, especially with the music. People are just making music. Making bad music, I mean. And they're selling their souls while doing it. So yeah, the music sucks. Even rap sucks. Don't get me started. Rap fucking sucks. So yeah. Let me get another one. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth. Yeah, and victuals are really provisions. That's what they call it. Victuals, provisions. Like what you people are eating are like MREs. That's what soldiers eat in the time of war, when they're battling, when they're fighting in the field, and they get them MREs out. An MRE is not a good meal, and it's not really healthy. So yeah, you're getting deals on your food. The food is cheap. Like you can go to the dollar store, which is not $1 anymore. It's like the $5 store. But you can basically shop there and get all your needs met when it comes to food. But it's not good food, and you're not supposed to rely on victuals or provisions. That's temporary. But you people think that you're in a good case because you can get food off the dollar menu. You can go to Pizza, get a 2 for $6, which even that's expensive. I remember it used to be 2 for $4. And then it went up to 2 for $5, and then now it's 2 for $6. It goes up every year. I remember that, man. But you people think you're in a good case. That's not good. That's not good. That's not good. And also in the video, it kind of hinted on that. Because I believe it was the CEO or one of the execs. They came out and said, look, Costco isn't going to raise their prices on certain items. They're going to keep it low because they want people to come into the store, because they're still going to make a profit regardless. So that keeps a lot of you consumers interested. But that doesn't mean the economy itself is doing good. You're still going to experience an economic collapse. And real soon you're not going to have a Costco anymore. Real soon. So it's not good, man. Now let me continue. It says that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. You see that? So famine, hunger. Like I said, there isn't going to be no Costco. People are going to die by the sword. They're going to die by famine, a lack of food, and great confusion. People are going to be confused, in a confused state, and rightfully so, because this is Babylon in the spirit. Babylon means what? Confusion. Yeah, you're going to be confused. You're not going to know what to do when all these calamities hit you, these polycrises. You know? Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. That's right, hunger. And also the famine of the word. Not being able to hear this word. Right now, there's not a famine of the word. Right now, you can hear the word anytime you want. It's on the internet. You have it on your phone. You have the men of the Lord on the highways and byways. You can go visit them, or you can watch them on YouTube. Soon that's going to come to an end. Anyways, it says, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So you guys that have your bunkers, or you know how to get food, you're going to be reserved for the sword. The sword being these guns, the military, these different gangs that are going to be out here, these rebels, and also nuclear destruction. That's what you're going to be reserved for. Verse 23, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down. Get ready for that. We get this. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? That's right, because he's a thief. And really this is geared towards the so-called white man. Because why? He's ruling the earth right now. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. 2nd Ezra 6:9, for Esau is the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we're at the end of Esau's world. So Esau is ruling right now, the so-called white man. And how did he get his riches? How did he increase himself? By being a thief, by being a murderer, by being a liar. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And while he was doing all these things, he ladeth himself with thick clay. What does that thick clay mean? Debts, heavy debts. When you go into that word clay in the Hebrew, it means, it's pronounced in the Hebrew, ibatya. And that just simply means heavy debts. Heavy debts. And that's going into inflation, his economy. Him printing money out of thin air. His money being backed by nothing. Yeah, man. These banks don't even have your money in the bank, even though you deposit your money in the bank. They don't carry all the money. So if everybody goes on a bank run and takes money out of the bank, this place is bankrupt, man. You're going to experience a financial collapse. Capital restrictions. That's why those are in place. So you can't do a bank run. You wouldn't have those restrictions if there wasn't thick clay, if this place wasn't in so much debt. You wouldn't have those restrictions. It's a fucking scam, man. It's a scam. Let me get this. This is Daniel chapter 2, verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And this is really going into NATO and the EU, primarily the EU, on how certain European economies are going to be stronger than others and some weaker than others. But it's not really strong. It's not really strong. And that's why America is doing what they're doing today. Starting with Donald Trump, which he's just a puppet. That's why he doesn't care about NATO. He doesn't really care about the EU. He wants to leave those alliances. That's why he's bringing forth the tariff hikes. Because he wants to keep America stronger. He wants America to stay strong as iron. So these other nations are in debt. Why? Because of America too. These other tributary states. And America's in debt too. They're in trillions of dollars of debt. But that just shows you the miry clay is going into the debt. And America has to pick up the tab, and they don't like that. It doesn't matter whether you leave the alliance or not, prophecy is going to be fulfilled. So I just thought I'd bring this out. Verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. There you go. Yeah. That's why, what's his name? The diplomat came out. What's his name? Marco Rubio. He's calling these other NATO partners junior partners. That's what he called them, because they didn't take 2% out of their GDP and put it into defense. Well, some of these nations, they're just partly broken. They're not strong enough to do that because they're weak, and America's looking down on them. So that goes into that debt as well. A lot of these nations are in debt. But why is that? It's because the whore that sitteth upon many waters has manipulated the world's economy through its dollar. Can you really blame those other nations for not wanting to take money out of their GDP and put it into defense? No, you can't. Verse 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in a nutshell, they're not going to do too well. They're not going to do too well. Let me see what else I got. Let me get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. And this is all a part of the curses too, because the scripture says, I'm talking about our people, you Israelites, you're going to be in the want of all things. And you actually rely on these retail giants to get your things, to get your necessities, to get your goods, so you can function in Babylon. This is actually a curse. They're charging you for things that should be free too. I'm just saying, like things like water. Water should be free. You shouldn't have to pay for that stuff. But anyways, man, that's a whole different video. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai shall send against thee. And we are in the land of our enemies, and we're serving them. We're serving the other nations, starting with the so-called white man. Why is that? Go into Psalms 83rd chapter. Esau, Edom's at the top of the list. He's our number one enemy, and we're in his land. The land that he stole from us, which are the Gadites and the other tribes, especially the northern kingdom and the indigenous tribes. Right? So it says, shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. That's right. Everything that you want, you have to go to this devil to get it. And you have to pay a lot of money for it. It doesn't matter if the economy isn't bad and things go up, you still have to go to him. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. That's right. It's true. A yoke of iron. And that plays out through economic shackles. Wages aren't going up. The grinding has ceased. But he still requires you to make payments. You know, you're a slave, man. You're a slave to this system, this guy's system that he set up. Until he have destroyed thee. That's right. Until you go homeless, till you go broke, till you lose it all. Till you die penniless. That's how he wants it. See if I can get another precept here. This is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. See that? And that's you Israelites. You're the poor and you're the borrower. And you're this guy's servant because he's lending you things. He's lending you things. But he's the rich too, and that's found in James the 5th chapter. It says, woe unto you rich men. But the rich and the wealthy, they rule over the poor. And it shows every single day. Because who's affected by this the most? It's the poor. Starting with you Israelites. These rich people, they don't care about this. It doesn't really affect them that much. Man, look at the terrorists, man. Who's affected by the terrorists? You little people. The people who own all these companies, these retail giant stores, they're raking in billions. There's a lot of people who have become billionaires when Trump enforced these tariff hikes. Some of them were Trump's friends, man. So the rich ain't affected by this. It's the poor. Anyways, I hope this was edifying. Till next time, just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahushai, B'Hashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS that do rule well and that do teach well and that have taught me this truth. To you I say Shalom. Kwam Yashala.